My name is Megan Wolff, Meganwolff.
And are you a yoga instructor?
Nope.
Are you a yoga teacher trainee?
Nope.
You just like yoga?
I just like yoga.
Okay.
I think the topic of the summit was something that I'm really interested in because there are a lot of yoga retreats that happen all over the world, and this was one that was really interesting to me because of the things that made it unique.
So, calm steps to vibrant action, yoga, trauma, spirituality, and social justice. What out of that spoke to you?
So I've been going to a yoga studio for about 3.5 years. That is very workout oriented, very superficial image oriented, and the population there is, for a town that's very diverse, is very white, 99% white, I would say. And that's been something that's always kind of resonated with me as off for obvious reasons. But there's never been, it's like one of those things where you learn that, you know that something is wrong, but you don't do anything about it or change it until someone brings to your attention another option or something like that. So when I heard that it was a program to help support bringing yoga to underserved communities, that is something that felt really special to me and important.
What has been your experience so far out of the presentations and the people that you've met? What's standing out for you?
I think the thought that I keep coming back to is if I could bottle this experience, this feeling, this magic that every new person who enters our space comments on, and bring it home and keep it for myself and make the world like this, then that would be it. I try to travel and I try to have as many new experiences as I can. And I think that this is honestly one of the most special experiences I've ever had.
Wow, so what's making it special?
It's just a beautiful, raw, soul-bearing communion of strangers for the most part, who are willing to open themselves up to each other and explore things that are scary or things that are hard for the ultimate well-being of ourselves and the community, and that is so beautiful. And then among that, the traditions of Native Americans and the land that we're on is so, there aren't really words to describe this feeling.
What's been completely new for you to learn about within the context of yoga? When we've talked about trauma, we've talked about social justice, we've talked about privilege, we've talked about spirituality, self-care. So we've talked about all of these kinds of things. What was new for you to kind of contextualize with your practice?
I want to comment on something unrelated to yoga, but I can think of something yoga related. I think the meditation aspect of it. I think the only yoga I've ever done has been for, kind of your mental, but primarily a physical thing. And this is the most spiritual and the most meditative I've ever learned that yoga can be.
So what's the non-yoga relevance?
The non-yoga the non-yoga experience that stuck with me was social justice related, and splitting up into groups and speaking with other white peers. And like any group of people, there are people who have certain beliefs and others who don't. But this was the first time that and I'm a big proponent for trying to have these conversations that are tough, but this is the first time that I've had a conversation in which everyone, and there are I think 10 of us, everyone, despite their presumptions or their defensiveness, eventually by the end of it was open to hearing the reality of things, and that was something I've never experienced when trying to explain things or change opinions or whatever.
So how do you feel this could help you with these conversations in the quote-unquote real world? And even non-yogis?
Yeah. I think that a lot of what made people so open to hearing criticism and to hearing truths that they weren't necessarily ready in another environment to accept was, like what I said earlier, the openness of this whole thing and how we're all kind of bearing our souls and being real with each other and speaking honestly about the human experience. And I think if that can be taken, and obviously this will never be recreated in the real world, but if that realness and truthfulness and honesty and spaces that feel safe can be replicated in some way, then maybe people will be more open to hearing things that are difficult to hear also.
Would you feel comfortable speaking to the people at the studio that you say that you go to?
I would feel comfortable.
About, trying to find ways to diversify its student base?
I think that before this summit, I wouldn't have had the tools to really put into words what is wrong with the situation of the studio that I mentioned previously. But I feel as though now, that would be an important move to make, actually.
Do you feel that they would be receptive?
I don't know.
Do you know them well?
I do.
The operators, the people who
I do. Yes. I don't know, because there's a reason it is the way it is now, right? So I don't know if it's a lack of awareness or an intentional.
Or a combination. I think sometimes the intentionality is implicit. You're not really aware of where it's stemming from. It just becomes habitual.
Mm-hmm.
So as you go home, how do you feel that what you've experienced here will be reflected in your yoga and in your life?
Good question. I wrote down in my journal that I want to make an intention to be a safe space wherever I go. So in any environment, to carry with me a space where people feel safe and people feel like they can be themselves and that they are loved, no matter who they are and what their beliefs are. So I think that that's something I'm going to try to put into action, because that's been like the core of what we've talked about a lot.